do hereby proclaim the month of February 2020 as Black History Month.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we got another proclamation that Councilwoman Cost is going to read, and it's for our 2020 census. And after she's done, we're going to have Ms. Samantha Singer with the city come up, and I guess she's going to introduce some of the folks that was involved with the census and some other stuff. So.
Okay, whereas the U.S. Census Bureau is required by Article 1, Section 2 of the U.S. Constitution to conduct an accurate count of the population every 10 years, and whereas census data also helps determine how many seats each state will have in the U.S. House of Representatives and is used in the redistricting of state legislators, county boards of supervisors, and city councils. And whereas the decennial census is a huge undertaking that requires cross-sector collaboration and partnership in order to achieve a complete and accurate count, whereas the U.S. Census Bureau is facing several challenges with the 2020 census, which include declining response rates, technological change, fiscal constraints. Thus, support from local government is critical. And whereas the City of Cocoa, in partnership with other local governments, the state, businesses, and community organizations, is committed to ensuring every resident is counted. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Mayor and the City Council of the City of Cocoa, do hereby recognize the importance of the 2020 census and support participation in helping to ensure a complete, fair, and accurate count.
All right. Good job.
Thank you so much, Council. And I just want to recognize the members of our Complete Count Committee that have been helping us spread the word about the census and the importance of taking the census. So just bear with me, and if you are here in the audience afterwards, we will have you come up, and we'd like to take a picture with Council, please. For the city, Rachel Horst, Evie, and Charlene from Community Services have all been involved. We have Jeff Arnott with Brevard Adult and Community Education Center, Barbara Lucy with Inspire, Dolores McLaughlin with Alliance for Neighborhood Restoration, Susan House with Aging Matters, Victoria Mitchner with Emma Jewell Charter Academy, Noelle Morrison with Cocoa High School, Kathy Hamilton Brown with Endeavor Elementary, Robert Kirkpatrick with Cambridge Elementary, Mr. Dave Brubaker with the Central Brevard Sharing Center, Aaron Harvey with the Boys and Girls Club of Cocoa, and Demetrius Waters, our District 1 Community Advocate. And then also we have Shauna Lloyd, who is our U.S. Census Partnership Specialist, who is assigned to our area, and she's here tonight as well. So if you can all please come up and take a picture so we can have a picture with Council for the proclamation. And thank you all so much for your participation in helping us spread the word.
All right.
So just a quick thank you very much for all your participation and help in getting the word out. We've started putting out information on social media, so keep an eye out in our website. It's very important that we take the census, especially this year, but please help us in spreading the word and making sure people know about the census. So thank you all very much.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, up next we have the historic Cocoa Village Main Street presentation.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I am Emma Kirkpatrick. I am the current president of Historic Cocoa Village Main Street, and this is Alan Chapman, our executive director. For decades, there were two organizations in Cocoa Village trying to accomplish similar, if not the same objective, of creating a vital and inviting commercial district for residents and visitors alike. It became obvious that the best way to grow and continue to serve the community was for us to come together and become one. So in 2018, the environment, the people, and the situation all came together at the right time to make this dream become a reality. And after almost a year of very hard work by both the Cocoa Main Street Board and the HCBA Board, by the City of Cocoa and Florida Main Street, and our attorney Dan Bluegrass, and a huge amount of work by our executive director, in August of last year, we finally came together as one organization, Historic Cocoa Village Main Street, bringing together the resources, the events, the staff of HCVA with the Main Street and nonprofit status of Cocoa Main Street. So, that is, oh, hang on. There we go. There we go. And there, all of you attended a couple weeks ago a ribbon cutting. So there we are. We officially became one. As a Main Street organization, we are expected to and ultimately contracted to be a partner and supporter of the municipality of which we are a part. In preparation of the joining of the two organizations, we signed a contract with the City of Cocoa to perform the following tasks for the remainder of the contract year. So we are partnering with the city in things like promoting, we offer the city a promotional table at all of our events. We include the city logo on all of our promotional merchandise that they see fit. We support the city in all of their charitable efforts, so the food drive, the toy drive, the school supply drive, the United Way campaign. We planned and promoted Hot Cocoa Holidays with the City of Cocoa. We promoted City of Cocoa City Government Week, beautification projects within our footprint, and then we helped provide volunteers for all of the city efforts as well. Okay, so as you can see, it is our mandate and our obligation to support the city in making Cocoa Village a vibrant commercial district within the foundations of a Main Street organization. So a Main Street organization operates in 4 different realms, or what they call pillars. And these are organization, economic vitality, design, and promotion. The organization committee is really the backbone of the organization. It involves creating a really strong foundation from which we can move forward. So our organization committee is focused right now on membership, membership levels, membership incentives, really stretching our boundaries there, and volunteer recognition and recruiting, community outreach. For instance, Wednesday Friends Day, working with local schools like Cocoa High, bringing in volunteers from their Bright Futures program, and then working on visioning. What is the new expanded organization trying to accomplish? And so it is our mission to continue to create a vital and inviting commercial district in the village. We're dedicated to historic preservation, to promoting the shops, restaurants, and businesses in the village, and offering a vibrant civic gathering place for all to enjoy. And we envision Cocoa Village to be a unique and thriving regional destination, offering a diverse mix of business, cultural, entertainment, and leisure and sports activities for residents and visitors of all ages. So, the economic vitality pillar really exists to create a supportive environment for entrepreneurs and innovators that drive the local economies. Our Economic Vitality Committee right now is really focused on 2 things. The farmers market, redeveloping the farmers market. We had a community meeting to get your input and see what you guys want to see in a farmers market, and we have a plan to move forward with that, so look for that in the future. And then working on tourism as well. So we've been meeting with the port and other local communities trying to figure out how to get cruise ship tours back to the village, but not just focusing on cruise ship tours, also focusing on marketing Cocoa Village as a destination in itself. So working on things like developing a slogan. So we brought in the let's something together. Let's play together that's adaptable to all situations. Let's shop together. Let's eat together. Really trying to encompass that community feeling. Let's do everything together. Let's grow together. Okay. The design committee is what we think of as the pretty committee, making everything beautiful. So it's enhancing the physical and visual assets that really set apart our commercial district. And got several projects that they've been working on in the past couple months. And ongoing planting initiatives like the raised beds at Mertharp Square. We worked with Emerald Nursery on the foundation plantings, and then we're doing seasoning plantings there as well. So you see the poinsettias that went in for Christmas, and we'll change those over to spring pretty soon. We're working with Keep Brevard Beautiful. To establish a relationship with them, we've applied and gotten confirmation of receipt of a grant for doing planting improvements throughout the village, or within the village. We are working on Light the Gazebo initiative by paying for new LED installations to light up Mertharp Square. Those should be going in very soon, working with the city on that. And then one of the projects that we brought over from HCBA is maintaining those dog stations that were put in by Tales of the Barkery and keeping those full and going so we can keep our pet-friendly image going. And then, of course, we have the promotions committee, and this is the fun committee. This is the one that shows that the downtown is the center and hub of economic activity within Cocoa. And obviously, you all know what we do for promotions. It's the most obvious stuff that we do. So we've got our 4 art and craft shows, our car show, our 4 sip and strolls, chili cook-off. Our new event this year coming up this Saturday is the annual Cocoa Village Brewers Bash. We've got 23 regional microbrewers coming in to sample their wares. Yes, that's you up there, Mayor. And then this past year, we really pushed Hot Cocoa Holidays out there. And so Hot Cocoa Holidays was a big promotion to encompass everything within the holiday season. The idea was to have something going on every single weekend. So when you think of the holidays, you think of Cocoa first. Where am I going to go? What am I going to do? I want to be in Cocoa. So that all started off with our Shop Small Sip and Stroll, which was another sold-out event. And we had the holiday-themed classic rock concert at Riverfront Park. Of course, our holiday art and craft show. This year, we put in a new event called Just a Touch of Cocoa. We brought in our local food and beverage establishments and had a chocolate competition in Mertharp Square, and that was a lot of fun. The holiday parade and tree lighting, which of course is the City of Cocoa, Rockledge, and Parks and Rec. The Playhouse had a variety of holiday entertainment going on, including White Christmas and the Nutcracker. We had a pub crawl with Gary Hass, the Mad Hatter, and that all finished off with the Holiday Bicycle Parade, which was a really, really cool event. I hope you all got to see that. That was really neat. So what does all this mean for the downtown and the city? I'm going to pass it over to Alan and let him talk about our impact.
Thank you. So the idea of all the promotions is to bring people to have a Cocoa Village experience. We do it through events. Last year, we did 15 major events that drew an estimated 57,850 people. The bulk of those people came to an art and craft fair, and our estimated attendance is 53,540. This represents a considerable, in addition to exposing people to village experience, it also represents a considerable regional economic impact. Now, these impact calculations are based on methodology provided by the Tourism Development Council for Space Coast events. The statistics are based on a large survey of art and craft attendees done in the fall of 2015, and the overnight visitor estimates include an estimate 23% of exhibitors who come from a distance of more than 100 miles, and we're going with the assumption that they're going to have to stay overnight. They're probably not going to drive 100 here and 100 back, and so on. The impact of the 4 art and craft fairs include the $59,833 we budget to spend on the art and craft fairs, and those are 2020 budget numbers. We anticipate that will bring us over the course of the year 5,420 people who will stay overnight, at least one night, and provide us with an economic benefit based again on the Tourism Development Council's regional multipliers of $1,014,961.20. In addition, we anticipate 10,124 people will be here for a visitor day, and we expect their economic impact to amount to $669,618.22, for a total direct economic impact of $1,744,412.42. I realize it kind of glazes your eyes over a little bit, but in order to bring all those people here, we advertised. We advertised on iHeart Radio. Actually, we did talk radio plus 99.3 plus traffic and weather for a total of 21 weeks in 2019, generating a total of 4,750,000 impressions. We did electronic billboards that generated another 1,411,000 impressions. And other efforts, including banners and so on, provided us with an impact on our impressions impact on our advertising of 7,794,797. In addition to that, we drew another 120,000 impressions in specialty media and another 1,727,000 impressions on organic Facebook impressions for a total of 9,041,000 total impressions. We told a lot of people many times about what a great place historic Cocoa Village is.
All right. So in addition to our paid advertising, we also utilize various forms of digital and social community engagement platforms. Our website, visitcocovillage.com, was developed in-house and can be updated regularly. We have an average monthly use of 6,600 users, and we enjoyed a bump during the holiday season of over 15,000 for a total users of over 88,000 for 2019. We also have developed a mobile phone app available on Android and your Apple iOS systems that links directly with our website and can be updated through that. So go on whatever your store is and download Cocoa Village. And we don't have a lot of data on that one because it's pretty darn new, but download it and use it. It's cool. We also print maps in-house of our merchants, and so that can be updated every time we get a new merchant. Our average annual distribution of maps is about 5,000. And then, of course, our Facebook pages. We have a really strong following on Facebook. We actually are hosting 2 Facebook pages right now because we had the Cocoa Village one and we inherited the Cocoa Main Street one as well. So we actually have about 16,000 fans on Facebook right now between the 2 of them, and we got a boost of about 2,000 over the past year. And then with our new expanded organization, we've been able to bring in some new blood, some young, enthusiastic people who have a little bit more social media savvy than us old people. And so if you haven't gone over and liked our Instagram page yet, do that because we got some new things coming up on Instagram. So, I'm old compared to the youngies. We also work really hard on establishing relationships within our community. So we're a partner and a member of the Cocoa Beach Regional Chamber of Commerce. You all came to our ribbon cutting a couple weeks ago. We also have Wednesday Friends Day coming up in May, so I hope you all come to that. We partner with the Cocoa Village Playhouse all year long, so they're part of our events committee, and we work really, really closely with them. The Cocoa Village Neighborhood Coalition, we meet with, we exchange ideas with, we help them with their painting initiative, housing all their supplies when they were repainting. And then Art Beats was actually a program that was established after an economic development breakfast, and we're going to bring that one under the Main Street wing, but that's where you're getting your public displays of art, like your storm drains and your bench projects and your electric box covers. That all came through Art Beats. Crosswinds, we're working with them on the duck race coming up in March, so that should be interesting and a lot of fun with the waterfront construction. And we are working with St. Mark's on our Keep Brevard Beautiful grant. They're going to bring that in and use that as part of their STEM education, so pretty cool. And then we also give back to our community. So our cash and donation total for 2019 equates to about $12,000 given back to our community. A lot of that is within spaces given to nonprofits at our craft shows, but we also do donations for the toy drive, the food drive, the school supply drive. We had a new initiative this last year called Giving Tuesdays, which our food and beverage members partnered together and chose a charity and gave back to that charity. And then we came together as a community and supported Brevard Zoo at Jazz Zoo and made a whole VIP Cocoa Village land. It was really neat. So when we have been interacting with other main streets around Florida, they are very surprised to hear that we are self-funded. Every penny that we spend is money that we have raised through events. We don't get any outside funding. We do get assistance from the city in the form of reduced rent through our services contract, but all of our funds come directly through us. So in 2020, our budget, all self-generated, is $206,000 to spend back in our community. And we're looking forward to 2020 and know it will bring great things. One of the very cool things that our 501c3 status affords us is the opportunity to go out and look for grants and that fit within our mission and our vision. So we'll be expanding that program, working on an increased relationship with the TDC to bring tourists to the area. One of the things of a Main Street is that we can now expand our membership so we can look for people outside of our footprint. So anybody that loves Cocoa can come be a member. Interested in, of course, in the waterfront expansion and how that's going to bring people to Cocoa regionally and nationally as they're coming down the waterway. Looking to revamp some programs like our paver program in Riverfront Park and our farmers market, looking to reestablish those. And then working within the city's wayfinding program to do things like signage and pole banners to kind of define the historic area. And then, of course, I threw down there PDA, our little public displays of art, spreading art love throughout the village. So, as you can see, we have come a long way in the past year, and we have accomplished a lot. But there's a lot more to do, and we can use all the help we can get. So, if you love Cocoa Village, there's a place for you on Main Street. Hey, everybody.
That was a great presentation.
We're on the second Thursday. I'm sorry, second Thursday of the month, right? At the Porsche House.
And then the next item up, we got a presentation that we want to give to Mr. Robert Board from Time Out Sports Bar. Is he here? I hadn't seen him. He's not here? Okay. Okay, and up next we're going to have Mr. Rick Wynn come up, and he was played a role for us, and he came to the rescue to be our Santa for Christmas, and did a wonderful job. And he became a celebrity. I tell you, him and his wife, I really do appreciate them, and they stepped in at a time we really needed them there, and we wanted to recognize him for his efforts and what he does for our community. Yes, sir. He doesn't have the big beard he had, but yes, sir. We're gonna come out and take a picture with you, and
Out of respect for the agenda, I'll make it short. We love being back in Brevard, only about 7 months now, so that was quite a surprise and quite an honor to have been able to done that for the city. We love Brevard, specifically Cocoa. I think we should all try to do better at that. I know that things get nutso with political stuff and agendas, but listen, we're all on the same team here. We want our place to thrive and survive and be great. And let's just try to remember to love it and love each other a little bit more. And that's just really important, and we're just really glad to be back, and it was a great honor to do that, and hopefully next year if you need me.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
That was perfect. Perfect timing.
Okay, we're going to move on to delegations. Up first, we have Reverend J.B. Dennis. You got 3 minutes to expound on whatever it is you need to talk about, and if you could please just give us your name and address, sir.
Good evening, everyone. Reverend J.B. Dennis, 3710 Catalina Drive. I'm going to be brief with an oral petition for modification of deadly force policies, because the current deadly force policies is putting a heavy burden on the taxpayers. When a person has a knife, they should not be shot with deadly force. So I'm going to advocate for beanbag rounds. That will save us taxpayers many dollars. A police officer can shoot and kill a suspect on a mere assumption of a threat and not be held accountable for murder of excessive force. If a suspect does not have a gun, they should not be shot with a firearm to cause death or severe harm. Beanbag rounds have been around since the 70s, and it's better than using a taser when a person has a knife about 30 feet from your baseball bat, hammer, or your regular crowbar. So we advocating that this city government will consider that having our police officers start carrying beanbag rounds instead of using deadly force when people do not have a gun. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, up next we have Mr. Alex Greenwood. You can just give us your name and address, sir.
Alex Greenwood, 640 Brevard Avenue, Cocoa, Florida. Thank you, Council, Mayor, for allowing me to come up. I've got several commercial property group members that are here. I have some information that I want to share that requires no voting. I just want to share it because it is very exciting. We had a list of 10 things that the commercial property group felt was important. And of those 10 items, and I want to thank the city and the staff for achieving 4 of the 10, the 5th one could be the parking. The original 1981 downtown redevelopment agenda guidelines was also renewed in 1988. In that paperwork, it states 5 different times in the reference to the parking issue in the village. And it's very specific, and some things have changed that we're concerned about, but basically the parking was never to be a burden of the property owners. It is a situation that the RDA development guidelines is that we need to search out bonds and grants. And I have it right here, itemized. I didn't have time to make copies to everybody, but everything I'm telling you, I can prove it right here. The good news is, and I'm very excited about it, the commercial property group wanted to contact Cape Canaveral in reference to the parking garages that they had built there, and I managed to do that. It turns out that it is Ivy Construction, who has been here for 38 years, and the right-hand man, Rocky Johnson, him and his wife have lived here in the Cocoa area, and they remember way back when it was not the place to go. It was considered not safe in the downtown Cocoa area. These are locals. These are people that know the village, okay? So when he told me that, Rocky, it was like, oh my God, they understand our plight. So I finally was able to meet with the representatives that not only from Ivy Construction, but also the subcontractors that they work with. Here's the key points. They have access and names and numbers for bond money, for grant money, and they've utilized that for the other projects. For example, in Cape Canaveral, that project was built in 6 months at under $5 million. Uncanny. They have also, the same group, built over 300 parking garages all over the state of Florida, as far west as Tampa. The wealth of information was unbelievable. This was an item that the Commercial Property Group really wanted to get this information, and they're thrilled, and that's why I'm here to discuss it. I'm going to be presenting it more in depth at the RDA meeting during that time period that we're waiting, and I'm hoping that I'd be able to continue talking. We'll do that in a minute. But this is something that we're all very excited about, and I'm going to be bringing more information about that, and we're following the exact guidelines that was presented in the RDA guidelines. There'll be more to come, and I also want to thank the city clerk who was able to provide some soil information and all that. Her office there runs like a top.
Thank you,
Thanks
sir.
to the chief as well, the fire chief, for the fire situation that we had. He's running it like a top also.
Thank
I
you,
really appreciate what we have for our city. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
The Cape Canaveral, it cost, what did you say?
$5 million.
$5 million.
Yes,
and it
ma'am.
took 6 months.
Yeah, and in 6 months it's steel. And I said, look, we can't have anything unattractive. The idea was to put planters
Thank you,
around
sir.
every floor with hanging vines and make it look very garden-like. So I really was excited about that idea.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next up we have Ms. Anita Gibson.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anita Gibson. I live at 451 Stone Street, Cocoa, Florida. I'm here today to speak on behalf of advocating for a cold case unit in Cocoa. This unit is needed because the citizens of Cocoa, and I don't want to speak race, but the black citizens of Cocoa need to feel that they count, that they matter, that somebody is looking out for us. I've been speaking to mothers or parents of sons that have been murdered, accidental or otherwise, and they say, forget about the police, they don't care about us, just forget about what happened to your son, he's dead, he's gone, it's over. But to me, it'll never be over until I die, and I wouldn't dare ask anybody in here to think of a phone call that comes at 3 in the morning that says your son or daughter was murdered in a drive-by accident or otherwise, because I'm positive everybody in here would go insane. I know that for a fact. You just couldn't fathom that feeling, and I'm not asking you to, but I'm asking for a cold case unit, and what I understand is I'm going to research it some more, but I want to know if there's a budget or if there's a grant, because I've been speaking to Chief Cantaloupe, and you got to have the budget for the officers, the phone lines, the computers, the space, or whatever. But I'm going to keep on this, and I'm going to keep active to figure out something that somebody can do something. I'm going to trust God for everything. And I can talk to my other people in my situation of murdered children or sons and say, hey, they care about us. We're going to get something going on this. So just don't feel that, we just are forgotten set, because, I'll never forget till I die about that. I hear that phone call right now in my brain every day. But I talk to God, and I say, God, help me to get up my bed. Help me to stand. And I say, I'm discouraged. Just forget about it. He's dead, And then my brain says, you can't forget about him. That was your baby for 37 years. And I'll keep on and keep after something till it comes to fruition that we have a cold case unit, or I can push to get my son's case solved. And I believe in my heart of hearts there's no such thing as somebody getting away with murder. You just don't. I might not ever see it, but God knows it, and you're going to pay. That's the bottom line. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ms. Gibson, just for me and for your son and your situation, this is another opportunity. You on public record right now, and it's going live. Tell us, everyone, your son's name, the date he was murdered, and where he was murdered.
Okay, my son is Jonte O'Shea Thomas. He was murdered December 9th at 3 a.m. on Pineda and Mitchell Street on a drive-by assault rifle.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I have two cards here from Mr. Lopez. He's not speaking on the delegation. He's going to speak under the tree.
Sir, I spoke with him through a translator from another COCO employee, and he's speaking on the tree, and I can advocate for him
Okay.
at that time.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure. And we have Mr. Boyd in here, Robert Boyd in here from Time Out. If we can, if it's okay with the council, we can go ahead and recognize him real quick. And I just wanted to say real quick that I just wanted you to know, and all the folks at Time Out, that we really appreciate what you do for our community. When we needed some support with our chorus that performed at the Space Coast League of City, that dinner that we sponsored here during the holidays, you guys stepped up, and we really do appreciate that. And I know you do a lot for our police department as well as our fire department. Maybe the chief and both the chief might want to chime in, but if you guys want to go ahead and just say something. But I just wanted to let you know that we appreciate everything that you do. And did you guys want to?
Yeah, I'd just like to again echo what the mayor is saying and thank Time Out. They're always there. Every time we've needed something, they've always been there to help. I know they helped out with our Cops and Kids program and some other things over the summer. So thank you for all that you do.
And I'll just I'll echo the same thing the police chief said. This just shows a great public-private partnership and how well that works together with one of our local businesses here in the community. And Mr. Boyd is certainly a champion of that, and we appreciate everything he does for our community.
Yes, sir. All right. If you'd like to come up, we'll give this to you, and the chief, if you guys want. Yeah, come on.
Come on, Robbie. Got to get your picture made.
He was back there cooking.
Okay. We're going to move on to our, I don't think we have any more delegation. Wait a minute. So we're going to move on to our consent agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We get a motion from Councilman Bovair, a second from Councilwoman Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay.
Public hearing.
We got to move. Yes, sir.
Yep. Move on to public hearing. First public hearing, ordinance number 03-2020, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, changing the zoning map designation of one parcel of real property totaling 246.45 acres, more or less, and generally located on the northeast corner of Highway 528 and Interstate 95 in Cocoa, Florida, more particularly depicted and legally described on Exhibit A, attached here too, from Brevard County GU General Use to City of Cocoa RU17 Single Family Residential, providing for the repeal of prior and consistent ordinances and resolutions, severability, and effective date. This is second and final reading. Also a public hearing item.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening. I think you know I typically don't do presentations for second readings because you, unless there's a significant change or in something.
I brought the presentation and our applicant. That better? The applicant, their representatives here as well, and they have their presentation. It is my pleasure to do that for you if you would like, and they've indicated they would be happy to do their presentation again as well, or not. It's entirely up to you.
We don't need it this time. I do have one card here, but it says item number 2 here. For Mr. Ed Silva. Correct?
I think it's this one.
Is it this one, Ray?
Yeah.
Okay. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and close it to the council and open it up to the public for any public comments. Sir, yes, sir. If you can just state your name and address and.
I'm Ed Silva. I live out in Canaveral Groves. I have
Okay.
a confidential address.
Mhm.
Okay. The first thing is that we last week gave Commissioner Pritchard about approximately 500 signatures to request that the city of Cocoa and Brevard County work together to find alternate ways out of the complex that's being built instead of coming through Canaveral Groves for a couple of reasons. The first one is going to be the high traffic from the construction and the high traffic from the complex which is going to be built, which could also interfere with the livelihood out there, the peace out there, and safety matters with the children and the animals that we do have running out in the groves, because we're not really like a city. The two options that we did come up with was, one would be to ask the state of Florida to put a road on their access and on the right-of-way that would bring it down into Grissom Parkway, that would bring it down, Grissom Parkway extension down there by the by the concrete plant. The other one would be to put the secondary road along the county drainage on that right-of-way, or easement rather, and bring it out to about the proximity area of the church on Grissom Parkway. Mm-hmm. This would also be a safety factor for the residents of Cocoa, because it would also allow your Fire Station 3 to get there faster in case of an emergency. If they have to come all the way down 524, all the way out Grissom Parkway, up Canaveral Groves Boulevard, and down those streets, you have in excess of an 8-minute response time. And that's above the National Fire Protection Association, the NFPA. This will also affect the residents that live there, because even though Station 29 would be available through an access point that we've asked the commissioner for, the problem would be Brevard County Station 29 also has to handle the jail in Port St. John, US 1, and they're very busy at the time, a lot of times when they would be possibly needed in the new development. So if these two roads did have access points into the new complex, not only would it be a safety factor, but it would also probably cut the residents' insurance down. Which a lot of us are trying to work with, the commissioner and the county, because we want this resolved in an applicable manner for both the city of Cocoa and the residents of Canaveral Groves. I was talking to the gentleman back here. We are having a little problem with the train people right now, but we can handle it. And it's nothing they can really do, because we're having wild animals show up in the groves like snakes and stuff because of the land clearing.
Well, thank you, sir. They're going to be coming up, and you're going to hear some dates on some
But
stuff as well.
we're just saying that, it would be a very good idea if we can get together and get those two roads so they wouldn't affect the residents of Canaveral Groves, and would also improve the safety of the residents in Cocoa at a later date.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay, that was the only card we had on this item. So what I'm going to do at this time, I'm going to close it to the public and reopen it to the council and let the the developers come up, if you guys want to come up and just talk a little bit about what he just, the roles that he was just mentioning, if there's any updates or.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members, city manager, assistant city manager, city attorney. For the record, my name is Kendall Moore, the Moore Law Group, professional address 895 Barton Boulevard in Rockledge. We are here again this evening on the rezoning matter. As staff stated, we certainly had the 22-slide presentation in honor of your busy agenda tonight. We won't go back through those. I think they've been presented to you, but just for context, I think it's important for us to again reiterate that we are here tonight as a result of the settlement implementation agreement that was signed between our clients and the city, in essence, the development agreement regarding this property, which required us within a specified number of days of signing to come before you and petition you for a zoning amendment to our U17 under your code. And so we were that was signed, we filed the application in December 2019. We were before the Planning and Zoning Board in January, and then ultimately before you, January the 22nd, each of those two stops passing unanimously. So we're here tonight again for the second reading. Mayor, as I said to Mr. Silva before, we've taken any calls and communications that have come to us from the residents, and we'll continue to do so, and happy to address any of the questions that he may have. I know that, I'm not sure within all the powers I have or people think I have that I can stop the snakes or the hogs or other things relative to the land clearing, but certainly willing to communicate with them and assist in any way that we can.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, what is the wishes of the council?
I make a motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilman Bover.
Second.
Second from Deputy Mayor Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2, Mr. City Attorney.
Item number 2 is ordinance 13-2019, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cocoa, Brevard County, Florida, adopting amendments to the City of Cocoa Comprehensive Plan based on the city's evaluation and appraisal of the comprehensive plan pursuant to Section 163.3191 Florida statute, providing for the repeal of inconsistent ordinances and resolutions, incorporation into the comprehensive plan, legal status of the comprehensive plan amendment, severability, and an effective date. This is second and final reading. Mayor, public hearing on it.
Thank you, sir. This is our second reading. At this time,
I wasn't going to do a presentation. I was
Okay.
just going to let you know that
At this-
we made no changes. We received our letter back from the state. They had no comments or objections to our original submittal in September. So what we have before you is the exact same document, and we will send that up to the state. We have 10 days to mail it back to them again, and then there's a 45-day period, at which point the state will then send us a notice of intent to find us in compliance is the document, at which point this will then become effective.
Okay.
Mayor, I have a question. Sure. So this includes the resiliency plan, but my understanding is that isn't finalized yet, or we're
It includes
waiting?
some of the data.
It's included as data and analysis, the background.
Okay.
Right.
Is it coming?
We have a draft that we were reviewing that we received, as they indicated.
Okay.
We would receive it in mid-February, and so we got it earlier, late last week. They're saying we have a draft of the Cocoa Resilient Plan that was prepared by the East Central Florida Regional Planning Council in collaboration with the city through some grants secured through the Florida Department of Emergency Management, and we are reviewing that draft that we just received. But the data was used from the Cocoa Resilient Plan for the purposes of updating our comprehensive plan as it related to the parallel flood, and to ensure that our comprehensive plan is in compliance with statutory requirements to address those issues.
Okay. At this time, we're going to go ahead and close this to the council and open up to the public for any public comments. Seeing none, I'm going to close it at this time to the public, reopen it up to the council. What is the wishes of the council?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Warner,
Second.
second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. We're going to move on to item number 3.
Thank you, Mayor. Staff is asking that you conduct a public hearing to obtain the citizen input and comments on the housing and community development needs, approve recommendations on the FY 2020-21 CDBG and home program funding, and provide notice to solicit public comment and notice of final public hearing scheduled for May 13th, 2020. I wanted to read the recommendations from the committee. There was 4 proposals that were submitted along with staff proposals. Community Services Council of Brevard Senior Nutrition Program, $8,500. Central Brevard Sharing Center, $13,123. The Salvation Army North Central Brevard Corps, $5,000. The repayment of the Section 108 loan for the Dr. Jolie Smith, $115,369. Staff Administration, $35,498. Fair Housing Education and Outreach, $1,000. That's the total projected allocation for the Community Development Block Grant Fund of $177,490. The Home Administration is 8%, 2% goes to the county since they are the lead entity. So our allocation would be $5,269, and our Housing and Community Housing Development Organization funds would be $60,603.88 for a total of $65,872.88. As required by the City Citizen Participation Plan, staff is requesting that City Council hold a public hearing to obtain the citizen input and public comments on housing and community development needs and approve the recommendations, the FY 2020-21 CDBG and home program funding. Upon City Council's approval, a 30-day public comment notice will be posted in the Florida Today, and the second public hearing will be set for May 13th, 2020.
Thank you, ma'am. I got a few cards here. Do you all want to? What's
I
in
just
that?
wanted to ask, when was the review?
The review was dated in December, I'm sorry, January. I can't remember the exact date. The proposals went out in November. They're usually 4 to 6 weeks. And then the staff review committee meets beginning of January.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and close it to the council and open up to the public. I have 3 cards here. Mr. David Brubaker, you can come up and state your name and address and.
Mayor Williams, distinguished council members and staff of the City of Cocoa, my name is Dave Brubaker. I am the president and CEO of the Central Brevard Sharing Center, located at 113 Aurora Street here in the great city of Cocoa. Our mission is to provide emergency assistance and guidance to those in our community who struggle to obtain life's most basic needs. Today I'm here to present about our community kitchen program. I know that several of you in this room have actually been there and participated. Deputy Mayor, thank you for coming on Thanksgiving. I appreciate you helping us serve those meals that day. Our community kitchen program has been in existence for 31 years, located at 113 Aurora Street. It is the only consistent feeding site where you can literally go there every day of the year and receive a meal. We do a hot lunch Monday through Saturdays and a bag lunch on Sundays. The funds that we are requesting, 100% of that will go to purchase food for our community kitchen program. So there is no other expenditure but food costs. We were awarded funds last year. I just wanted to give you the first quarter results. We served 11,680 meals between October and December. We registered 1,301 persons, that's an unduplicated number, in those 3 months, of which 72%, or 936, registered to be citizens of Cocoa. Wow. Your investment in our community kitchen speaks volumes about how you care about the quality of life for those folks in our community who struggle to make ends meet. If you were to come to our kitchen you would see that it's infants to elder and anything in between. It is black, brown, white. There is no racial divide when it comes to poverty.
Yeah.
Poverty does not discriminate, unfortunately. In closing, I would like to, again, thank you all for your support. The food drives that you do on an annual basis during the holiday season, cooking at our barbecue, Chief, thank you for that. The support is a wonderful community partnership, and I am so proud of the city for the things that you do for our organization and for the citizens of Cocoa. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And then while you're here, I just want you to know that we do know there is an issue with there not being any sidewalks on that on Aurora from 520. So hopefully we're going to be addressing that soon. We've had some discussions about that. So.
Well, I appreciate that, and again, thank you all so much for your considerations.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, David. Speaks volumes. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Cindy Mitchell.
Good evening. Thank you
Good evening.
for having us speak about our programs for our CDBG applications. I am Cindy Mitchell. I'm the director at the Salvation Army Domestic Violence Program, and we are celebrating our 36th year now. We're the first domestic violence shelter in Brevard County, and we serve from our shelter services are offered at a confidential location for obvious reasons in the city of Cocoa. And what our specific request is, just like the Sharing Center, is for food, very specifically, food for our shelter residents while they stay. As you can imagine, when people leave a domestic violence situation, they leave typically with nothing, right? The economic coercion that happens in relationships, as well as often leaving without, the ability to plan often, together with not, having typically a source of income in that relationship, leaves people with a situation of not having resources, right? And so it's our job as a center to provide those things while they stay with us, and we do. And so all those personal care items that you and I use every day, the food, all of those things are provided. And so some of those things come from funds like CDBG, some are donations. It's kind of a whole effort to make it all happen. And besides those services, all of the people in our shelter access counseling as they see fit. We have support groups. We have a 24-hour hotline that serves all of Brevard County, as well as Cocoa citizens. And we're here 24 hours a day.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Any
it.
questions?
Thank you. No, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Okay, up next we have Paula Schroeder. Say that right?
Yep.
Okay.
Good evening. Thank you, all of you from the City of Cocoa for being a partner with Aging Matters in Brevard for so many years. We feed our elderly citizens through our Meals on Wheels and Seniors at Lunch program. It's actually called the Brevard Senior Nutrition Program. These are the home-delivered meals that are given to homebound people over the age of 60. And we also have congregate dining for people who are able to get out and they can come together, have some social interaction as well as a good, nutritious meal. I just want to throw in, I was down in Melbourne at our Seniors at Lunch site today, and that food is good. We had baked chicken and vegetables and fresh coleslaw, and it's all made fresh right here in Cocoa on Rosa Parks Drive, and then it's sent out all across the county. But I was just looking at our 2018-19 contract with the City of Cocoa. We said we were going to serve 90 people, 8,800 meals. By the end of the year, we actually served 157 people with 20,000 meals, and that's under the CDBG guidelines. So we are on track to do that and more in the coming year. And it's just so very important. I can't emphasize enough the importance of that social interaction. The volunteer comes to the door of an elderly person who cannot get out. not able to cook for themselves, and that face-to-face, just a smile and a hello sometimes means as much as or more than the meal. I also know that some of you are going to be coming out for our March for Meals. You will be delivering to some of our clients here in Cocoa, and I know that that's a really meaningful experience for you, so we're looking forward to that as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you.
Pardon me?
See you Tuesday.
Okay, sounds good. You're a regular driver? Yeah, good. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay. This time, we're going to go ahead and close it to the public and reopen it to the council.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilman Bovair.
Second.
Second from Deputy Mayor Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to council business. Consider the appointment of Mr. Randall Heister as a second alternate member to the Board of Adjustment. We got a motion from Councilwoman Warner, second from Councilman Bovair. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 2 is the approval of a code enforcement lien for the property located at 315 Belmont Drive to be reduced to $2,000 as recommended by the Code Enforcement Board. Chief.
Yes, Mayor and Council. This went to the Code Board at their regular meeting on January 16th, 2020. During that meeting, they recommended that the lien be reduced to $2,000. We were good with that, and we're asking that Council approve the reduction to $2,000. Also, the property was just inspected, and there are no code violations currently on the property.
Thank you, sir. We got a motion from Councilman Bovair.
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Item number 3, request to approve a date change for the street closure of annual Village Idiot Pub Run, March 27th. Hey.
How is everybody?
Okay.
Miss
Yeah,
Gail.
I'm just here to request and approve a date change for the annual Village Idiot Pub Run. The event is called The Village Has Lost Their Idiot. It was originally approved for March 27th, and we'd like to change the date on that to April 3rd.
April 3rd. Okay.
No conflicts.
Nothing at all.
Motion to approve.
We get a motion from Councilwoman Warner. Second from Councilman Bovair. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Item number 4, consider the cancellation of the regular city council meeting for December 23rd, 2020 due to the holidays.
Yes, sir. This item is to, sorry, my mic just broke. To request cancellation of the second meeting in December due to the Christmas holiday.
Mhm.
And this is a common meeting that we'd cancel so we can be with our families, staff, and council. And the second request on this is to change the November meeting dates due to holidays. This year, Veterans Day falls on the same day as our council meeting, which is scheduled. The regular council meeting is scheduled for November 11th, so we're requesting to change that meeting date to the Tuesday, November 10th. And also change the second meeting in November to November 20th and make it a day meeting at 10 a.m., most likely.
Okay.
Oh, and then the swearing-in ceremony would also be included into that November 20th meeting.
Okay. Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Warner and a second from Councilwoman Cost.
I got a question first.
Right.
On the swearing in day, does it? I think it was a pretty good turnout the last time we did it in the morning. But in the past, was it a better turnout in the afternoon? No. No. Okay.
Not really.
All right. All right. I'm good.
We got a first and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 5. Consider the appointment of Mr. Todd Anderson as a regular member of the Planning and Zoning Board and Ms. Ariel Glass as a second alternative member of the Planning and Zoning Board.
I wanted to ask, first of all, just point out that, Todd Anderson is great, no problem there. Miss Glass actually lives and works in Cocoa and is younger. I'm wondering if we would want to consider her as the regular member and put Todd in the alternate position at this point. Just to bring some new perspective, new blood.
Well, usually it's the alternates that move up into permanent positions because planning and zoning is pretty intense and detailed, and it gives them an opportunity to.
And then Todd does have a lot of experience.
Yeah, I mean, going into that board with absolutely no experience can be kind of daunting. There's a lot of technical issues sometimes, and we've had a high enough rate of turnover that she probably wouldn't be an alternate for very long. I mean,
Okay. Then I wanted to ask about the roster. Does it include Deborah Joyce? And I understood that she was appointed by the school board for a non-voting position on that roster.
there is
Do
a
you
school
know
board
anything
appointment, I
about
think.
that?
Yeah.
I believe that has to come before council for approval.
I haven't received notification of you. Have you received notification? I haven't.
I believe, isn't there the school board's meeting tonight on the same, for that item? Where
Okay.
they're actually,
So
they haven't
after,
actually
so after
appointed.
the school board
I see.
Right.
votes,
correct.
then it'll come, we'll get a letter.
We'll get a letter,
And then we'll
correct.
bring it
Bring
forward.
it back.
And they're a non-voting member.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think our alternates doing the Planning and Zoning Board, they can be a part of the conversation, they just don't vote. Am I correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we got a motion from Councilman Bover.
Second.
Second from Deputy Mayor Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6, which would be number 2 from our consent agenda. Now, I just wanted a little bit more detail on that.
That was the budget
Yeah.
adjustment.
Who's that?
Sorry about that.
No, it's all right.
Yes, this agenda item was to correct an error that was found. I had staff going through and reviewing accounts, and we performed a budget rollover to provide money in 2020 for projects that were approved in 2019. And through the process, staff made an error, and because this changes fund balance, we needed to bring it back to council to get it approved so that we could correct the error.
I had some other questions with reference to that, but I'm just going to save them for later and discuss them with you.
Thank you, sir.
Can I get a motion or?
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilman Bover.
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. We can move on to item number 1 on the city business.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. This is item number 1 under City Business 9, to approve Task Order 2020-07, City of Cocoa, America's Water Infrastructure Act, AWIA, Section 2013 compliance support with Jacobs Engineering Group to provide assistance to the City of Cocoa to meet the AWIA requirements, including project initiation, risk and resiliency assessment, and emergency response plan update, and to approve a resolution amending the 2020 budget, BAF number 20-044-T. I'm here to answer your questions if you have any.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I have a question because I know we only have 30 days on this. And so is it just a matter of not enough staff, or because I had brought this up in the falls before our fall Utilities Advisory Board meeting?
Yeah, we didn't, well, we had some significant delays related to the actual execution of the Jacobs contract, if you remember. Took a few extra months, honestly, more so than we anticipated, from November really through just last council meeting.
Okay.
So we asked CH actually, and they agreed to kind of move at risk to kind of move forward. We've already had some initiation meetings already that happened last week. So we'll have to do a confirmation purchase order through finance, but they really had a kind of a minimum in order to at least to do the risk assessment. I participated in a kickoff meeting at the water plant, I guess a week or two ago, with staff. They spent 3.5 days going through the plant. And it's a combination. We had already prepared a number of documents that we already prepared and already had. Some hazardous stuff that we do at the plant, some plans that we already have to have for other regulations that we can use, and had provided that to Jacob so that they had that as a basis before they even got started. So we're on a little bit of a tight time frame, but they've already got a little bit of a head start. They've assured us that we can get the assessment and the report done before the end of March, and that requires my signature and then an authorization, essentially an endorsement letter from the utilities director saying that the assessment has been complete, which I believe we're on schedule to do. And then there's a part 2 of this task is the actual action plan, which is the kind of the more important part, which basically is the assessment and then taking it to the next level. What are the things that we are going to do and put in place over the next 6 months and then over the next number of years in order to make us more or to eliminate risk from how we operate.
Okay. Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Cost.
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay. Item number 2, approve the removal of an oak tree in the right-of-way adjacent to 1203 Oxford Way.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a request that was brought before the Planning and Zoning Board per the property owner, as the oak tree was causing damage on both the public and private areas. And so he's wanting to replace his driveway, but the oak tree is causing him some issues. So Planning and Zoning Board recommended approval. The tree will be replaced at Rocco Pond.
Thank you, ma'am.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Warner.
Second.
Second from Deputy Mayor Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It passes unanimously. I know we have a card here, but
I think he just left.
yeah, he's gone, so.
Well, you have his phone number. I'll call him.
Yeah, okay. Okay, and we can move on to item number 3. Finance Director.
Yes, this agenda item is to approve a resolution amending the fiscal year 2020 budget, reducing the reliance on fund balance and reducing the expense budget for project retainage. And there's an associated budget amendment form number 20-029A1 and A2 related to this agenda item. So this agenda item is similar to the other one that I had this evening. And so as part of the budget rollover, staff reviews the cost, and this is a new procedure that was implemented. This is the second time that staff has done it. And so they made an error, and they have to reduce the budget in 2020 by some accounting entries that get made. And the budget and accounting are like two different people doing 2 different functions. And so the budget person didn't understand what the accounting people were doing, and the fact that she should have reduced the budget by the retainage amount. And so this is restoring that money and getting things back in alignment again. And this was discovered through account analysis in fiscal year 20 to ensure that the budget was correct.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilman Bover.
Second.
Second from Councilwoman Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 4, Mr. Walsh.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mayor. It's item number 4, approve task order 2020-06 with Jacobs Engineering to assist the Dial Water Treatment Plant with program management services, instrumentation, control system support, and design management and construction project services for operating revenue and capital improvement projects, and to approve a resolution amending the 2020 budget, BAF number 20-04-T. I'm here to answer any of your questions. This task is primarily focused on SCADA control systems and support at the plant, so about 50-50 on each.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Costs, second from Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we can move on to item number 5. Is that?
Is that 5 is the one that we moved from the consent agenda?
Okay, and another one went to 5A, or? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah.
I just moved them all down
It's
one.
the one from the
The consent, right, item number 6, yeah.
This is mine, right? Okay. Yes, sir. This is to approve task order 2020-01 with Jacobs Engineering Group for the program management service and operating revenues for project WS 1221, task order 20-20-03 for program management services for bond-funded projects, and project number WS 19BO, task order 20-04 for plan review services, including engineering, land development review, project WS 1221 to approve a resolution amending the 2020 budget, BAF 20-043-T. This one's a little complicated, but to kind of summarize it, we're combining a few things there, but program management services, and we have another task order for bond projects, for operating projects, and in this particular task order request, for also, if you remember, we were extending contract services tasks on a task basis while we were trying to get the contract approved, and this will carry us now through the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. And if I could comment, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So again, I didn't pull it from the consent agenda because I have any question or lack of confidence in you or in Jacobs. That no problem there. But and it sounds like a lot of this has to do with, because we had I think it adds up to close to 1.6 million on this agenda, and that's because these contracts have been delayed. We haven't been
Correct.
doing
Pretty
them
much
all
everything
along.
on the agenda tonight is stuff that we would have liked to have done months ago, but because of different delays and other things associated with executing the contract for Jacobs, has kind of pushed it to this agenda item this late in the year, as well as you remember, we had 3 task orders to just keep ourselves in survival mode, and that was extending their old contract, and we did that twice.
Okay.
But so now that that's all behind us, this will carry us through the rest of the
Okay.
year.
Yeah, I think the survival mode is what I wanted to know more about, because of course we've talked about this before, and I know that we want to get more engineering positions, and I know it's very competitive. But all of these falling on the one agenda really kind of added up the figures to something you'd really look at. But I'm just concerned how we're trending. Because we've been talking about this since I've been sitting up here, that we wanted to get more engineers on staff and be able to do, some of the management services on staff. So is that going in the right direction? Are we trending in the right direction there? Is that still on our radar screen?
No, we're not trending in the right way, ma'am. We're just not seeing a lot of candidates come through. That's where we're kind of suffering right now. We're seeing a few people come through. A lot of them are unqualified. We have conducted a few interviews here and there. We have a lot of positions open on the engineering side. So that's hampering our ability to execute capital projects. So that has slowed down quite a bit relative to how we've done in other years. But still fairly aggressive as much as we can, at least. Again, you got to remember, most of our projects are, anywhere from $1 million to, $5 million a pop. And so we have to have the right leadership, at least in my opinion, in order to make sure that we have the proper leadership, to make sure that those projects go on, that we get the quality of the products that we paid for, and that we control and have input with the contractor, make sure the change orders are under control, and that basically the city's getting its value. And that's
Okay.
extremely important
And,
in terms
do
of
we
the
have
program.
any, what about human resources wise? Do we have any creative? Can we advertise in Minnesota during February?
Well, the issue is the competition with the Space Center. I mean, there's like an engineering contract at the Space Center right now that has 2,000 engineers as their program, and they're competing even with NASA. So, I mean, and my sister's a recruiter for Jacobs, actually, at the Space Center, and she's traveling, twice a month to different colleges to make offers to students 6 months before they graduate, just so they can get them in the door, and so there's just a lot of competition in the local market right now that we can't
And again,
compete with salary-wise. It's something that we can look at if you would like us to put together a salary survey, but
And that's
it's
what I
not
was-
comparing us
yeah.
to other municipalities. It's comparing it to the private sector. And
Yeah,
and you're
and, I mean,
talking
and
about
that is my concern because, of course, we have they show the salaries in the background information here, and Jack's salary is modest in comparison. And if we lost him, do we have anyone that we're kind of training and bringing up through the ranks? So we hope you're not leaving.
I'm not going. No plans.
And that was my concern, was whether we're being competitive enough with the,
Honestly, sir, I think Tammy said it. It's not even just us. It's all sectors. Private sector, I think, is struggling to find people as well, and it's just getting harder, more and more competitive. And quite honestly, the city in general just doesn't keep up with the private sector salary changes that move every 6 months to a year. They can just quickly change their salaries and make adjustments as the market. We're lucky if we can do it once every 4 or 5 years, and hold on in between. And right now, we've lost a large group, of engineers and others too. It's not just engineers; it's engineering, it's construction supervisors, it's other components that are related to the construction industry. That because the economy gets hotter and hotter, makes it harder and harder. And that's not anything new. Every time the economy gets hot, the public sector struggles to fill those positions. Economy starts to tank. All of a sudden, we'll get a flood of people. It's a matter of how we manage in between.
And it's the unemployment market. You're going after people that are working. It's
even
it's
more
not
competitive.
that. Yeah, so it's just about chasing them down and selling our city.
We have used, and actually, I think in the last 4 or 5 years, adjusted the salaries to be competitive. But as Jack says, no sooner we adjust them, private market, a couple months later, adjust theirs, and it's not apples to apples. There's some don't see the benefits in terms of the long-term benefits of working in the public sector compared to the actual salary that stands out versus some of the other benefits that add a lot of value to it. So we continue to look at it. Actually, I think the AWWA survey should be coming out. Is it June, July, Matt? Jack?
Yes.
It's usually June or July. It comes out, and we'll look at it. And we have, we'll just say, a neighboring city's salary survey that they completed within the past couple months. So
It's not just in engineering, it's in every aspect of our employment, that, fire department, police department, everywhere. It's when the job market is hot and unemployment is low, people go after the money.
Yeah, it's right now, it's, I would say engineers, RIT, police, and we're even starting to see the planning market, kind of the private sector, larger planning firms pick up. And then we've even adjusted. Last year we adjusted the building division. We know about that one. And then last year we even adjusted in the budget, some of our finance. And so you're right.
Okay.
Okay, a motion to approve.
Second.
We get a motion from Councilwoman Cost, a second from Councilwoman Warner. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 6, which is approved multi-year agreement with Policy Confluence, Inc. Mr. City Manager.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Policy Confluence is the National Research Center, and they are a partner with ICMA, the National League of Cities, a number of other organizations. And as the city is preparing to update its strategic plan, as you know, it goes from 2016 to 2021. One of the things that we think is critically important is to understand resident opinions based on the quality of life, the services offered, the level of satisfaction with municipal services, rating the city on the matters of such issues such as safety, characteristics of the community, government performance, and engagement. The National Research Center, they maintain a proprietary database of over 600 jurisdictions for which they have conducted scientifically based surveys. They're random samples. In this case, the option that we're proposing is they will randomly sample 1,700 households in the city of Cocoa, which roughly is about 425 per district. And if you think about that, when you see these national polls, on president, it's usually 400 to 500, 400 to 600 respondents. They will mail out some notices as reminders, and then they also have through Polco, which is their partner, we will be able to put on our water bill and the FYI, push out through our social media. Actually, they complimented us on our social media platforms, the fact that we're very active, but a opt-in provision for those that do not, receive one of the random, surveys. We also are electing and requesting that there's a couple options. One, that it's Spanish as well. So because about 16% of our population is Hispanic of either white or of either race. And then we're also requesting an option that would allow for where they'd break it down into 4 districts, and that would coincide with each of the council members' districts. So each council member district would understand, and the residents, besides with the city residents, as a whole, what their opinion is on specific matters, but also each council member would have a better understanding as it relates to their specific district. The last thing, we think it's important to ensure that we're getting that representative sample is looking at the demographic crosstabs that would allow you to do the analysis to ensure that we're mirroring the community, so we're getting views and opinions from all members of the community. We see this as a foundation for the strategic plan, and then they are offering this at the 2019 price, because I started talking to them back in October. Went to the ICMA conference. As a member of ICMA, they are providing us a 10% discount. This is a multi-year agreement, so there'd be one done this year and then one done in 2023. And and they've already raised their prices for 2020, but they're honoring their 2019 prices. That's when we started talking, and we're locking in 2019 prices for 2023. It's essentially about $18,425 for each survey, so that'd be the total cost for the subscription is just about $37,000. I think it would be, there's a number of communities you saw in the brochures that are using it in Florida, and it's something that will provide. You have I attached a sample instrument of the survey, community survey that they provide. It will be specialized because obviously we don't need to know how well we're doing in snow removal, but it will be revised to be specific to our community. And but I just think it's important that the council, the administration, and the citizens get that, going back to the December 18 retreat, one community working together, but understanding what the one community as a whole thinks, and then each member of council with the individual concerns. So, and by them having that proprietary data, it's so I'll just give an example. Say the results come back and it says 72.4% have an above average or excellent opinion of the city in the way they handle stormwater. Then that we compare that to what the national average is among those 600 plus jurisdictions that they have, and as it grows, we would be compared to those. So if we find that the average is 69.8%, we see that we're above that, and then the ability to go out 2 years and look at okay, we do the community strategic plan. You use that to help guide some of the issues in addition to as part of the environmental scan. You still do your SWOT analysis and your issues, but that helps guides and lays the foundation. You put those plans in place, the goals, the issues, and the objectives rather, and then the specific action items, and then you can measure several years out. I'll give an example. There's a city to the south. They did this, and they were not aware, at least at the time, that there was one done 5 years previously. So they had the benefit of seeing, well, hey, here's where we were 5 years ago. They didn't even realize it. And now here's where we are now. So it really gives you the ability to kind of track and monitor where the residents will their opinions. And then
so this is for more than 1 year. The 37,000 is
that
for
covers, yes, you get some multi-year contract, so you're obligating this year plus
year,
no, it's 18,425 and change for each one. It's 37 total. And there is a provision in the contract, and it will add that the city attorney's office did have some, we needed to make some revisions to ensure that it was consistent with the Florida law, with some of the requirements of Florida law, as well as the ownership of the data. We did receive an email that they are in concurrence with those changes, so I will modify the amendment or the motion. The last thing I did want to share was just in terms of the schedule. The idea is if we can get this approved and signed, then we can work by April to get this underway in terms of kind of finalizing the survey materials that are specific to COCO, and then you'd be looking by near the end of April, the first wave of postcards being mailed out, and then the surveys, then the surveys again, and then we have the ability to do the opt-in, and then the data collection would end around June. We'd be looking at getting final reports, on the results by July 20th, and that will help. I believe, help you make better and more informed decisions based on understanding the community's, opinions as a whole, versus allowing potentially a vocal minority, stating opinions. Now you have the benefit of a scientifically based survey.
Yeah.
So,
Now can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned the opt-in. Do they calculate those results separately? So
They do. They will do them separately. Yes.
Okay. Great.
We asked the question about ballot stuffing and all that, and it's been their experience that has not occurred. And plus, with everybody has the IP address, and they can accommodate for that. So,
Second.
And with that motion, the recommended motion, it's subject to the city attorney and the city manager revising the agreement and then authorizing the city manager to execute the agreement. If you're okay with that.
I think this will really help our process.
Yes, ma'am. We got a motion from Councilman Bover, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we can move on to
Thank you,
item
Council.
number 7. Approve the second and final amendment onto the purchase agreement with Anderson Diving. Mr. Walsh.
Mr. Mayor, I want to apologize. We want to pull this. We need to work in this agreement, and meant to get it at the beginning of the meeting, and I apologize. We need to make sure that terms and conditions related to FEMA are included in this. And if you approve this amendment at this point in time, it'll make it more difficult we won't have the leverage if you approve this.
So
So
we
we
wanna
would like
make
to pull this, and we'll bring it back.
Want to make a motion to table it or pull it?
I would just pull it for right now,
Okay.
and we'll bring it back at the appropriate time.
Okay. Should we do that in the motion, Mr. City Attorney, or just?
Motion to pull this item at the request of the city manager.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Warner, and a second from Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, item number 8, approve the task order by SME to develop a park and open space master plan in the amount of $59.8. Community Service Director.
Thank you, Mayor. This was one of council's priority to enter into an agreement, just to develop a parks and open space master plan. We'll evaluate the level of service of our current parks, the existing facility, identify any gaps and needs, and also any opportunities for trails, and working with the Space Coast Transportation Planning Organization. Additionally, the city recently adopted a stormwater master plan, so one of the tasks will also be identifying whether or not we can tie in the stormwater with the parks as well.
Okay.
That's the question. I didn't actually see that in the scope of work. Does it specifically? I'm glad you had to say that.
Yes, it does. Let me find
But
it.
I looked for it, and
It's in there. Hang on a second.
I think that is crucially
Yes, under
important.
page 2 of 5, SME will review the city's stormwater master plan to
Okay.
identify parks, recreational opportunities where resources can be leveraged and facilities maximized. Potential opportunities include joint use of facilities, utilities, recreation, routing paths around stormwater ponds, etc.
Okay, good, because I just think that's really important, and a lot of larger cities have been able to invest in their parks and, have that kind of social equity out of that investment.
So this includes all of our parks within the city of Cocoa, correct?
Yes.
So,
City or county maintain its city parks.
Okay.
And then as well as identifying, evaluating them, and then identifying gaps and.
So the problem I have with this amount of money is right now Brevard County Parks and Rec do not maintain our parks within our city in the manner that we would like. So we spent $60,000 to develop this master plan, but we still in the same position that we'll be in again with Parks and Recs. So I think I had a conversation in council meeting about us possibly looking at us taking ownership of our parks and trying to get analysis of that. I'm just if we spend it, we're going to spend $60,000, and then so we come back and in the future we have a plan approved. We're still going to be under Brevard County Parks and Recs with
Yes.
a half
So-
standard, maintenance.
Okay, well, so I think, again, this was a council priority as part of the budget, and it's directly to your point. This allows us, in addition to identifying the gaps and the opportunities to expand, and evaluate our level of services, it will evaluate our existing facilities. And so it provides us that baseline to have that conversation. We know, because it's more than just maintenance. There's actual facilities, and services that may not be maximized or programmed. So this is laying the foundation for the direction that you all provided. And so, Matt, I know we're working on an agreement on maintenance as we speak, but it is something long-term, and I think that discussion is meritorious, but I think this is critical to having that discussion on behalf of the community.
Okay.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm just tired of Parks and Recs, just to be honest. I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of them sending employees to certain parks that, you know, that don't do good work. They send the good people to Cocoa Beach, and then we get the guys who they're really trying to get rid of, and they send them to Provost Park. That's what's been going on. This is a fact.
That's been going on for a long time. And when we looked at 22 years ago, we looked at taking our parks back from the county, and we actually put together a Parks and Rec Advisory Board who spent a year and a half, I think, reviewing every single park and going over the services with the county and working with staff to come up with the cost of the city actually managing their own parks. And at that time, because of the purchases and things that we would have to make in equipment because we didn't have a facilities department. So what we would have had to invest at that time over 20 years ago just to be able to take care of the parks ourselves in equipment and initial hiring of employees was $3 million. And that was 20 years ago. So I sat on that board along with Jan Etz from Cocoa Village and some other members of the community that are still around. And like I said, we spent a long time reviewing that. We have better staffing, and we now have a facilities department that we didn't have at that time.
Gotcha.
But to me, this is like the first step in moving back in that direction. We need to know what we've got and what level of service we're providing at each of these before we can move forward, in my mind.
Okay.
So that's what, to me, that's what this is. Let's see what we've got to work with so we can move forward.
And concurrently, I would add to that, Matt can provide you an update on what he's done a lot of the research really at District 4 because he does serve as a representative of the District 4 Recreation Board, and I think it's really a workshop topic.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of a unique arrangement than it appears maybe at face value, but we're currently operating with Brevard County for certain parks within our city. Some the city maintains and operates, but the current maintenance agreement expired in 2011, and we are still operating under that, of which it just says that the park shall be maintained in good condition.
Right.
Very subjective.
Right.
And we had began negotiations for a renewed contract after the acquisition of Lee Winter Park and the settlement of some of the other pending items related to Brevard Museum. And basically where we had gotten was we would be the first in the county to install actual maintenance standards, of which, is quite unique. It outlines everything from the type of fertilizer used on the type of field, what time of the year, the number of cuts, everything. It's very comprehensive. What's at issue at this point is Brevard County has, their commission has asked for analysis of all parks in Brevard County that they provide maintenance to, and they're doing their own analysis as well. But they have informed us that they wouldn't bring anything to their board at this time as far as an agreement for approval, which gives us some time to implement this planning process, as well as have a workshop with council to, discuss the implications of going out on your own, maintaining the current type arrangement, but really getting an understanding of how did we get here, why is it in place specifically with the, a regional recreational district. It's not just the city. We're in this with Rockledge, Cocoa, and West Cocoa, and that was established by the Florida legislature. So it dates back to the early 1960s, and there's been some modifications since, but we've prepared a pretty detailed history of that for you all in advance of that workshop, so we can review that history and then go straight into what issues we currently see out there and what level of service we would like to see. So, I think in a workshop setting would be most appropriate, so we can freely discuss those items.
Well, definitely, and invite some of the kids out here to come in and give their input because, you know, I'm like some other folks, man. I'm just sick and tired of the substandard services that we get here in the city of Cocoa, and it's just not acceptable anymore. Maybe some other folk can accept it. I don't accept it. And but anyway,
Need a motion?
We do need a motion to approve this item.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We get a motion from Deputy Mayor Goins, a second from Councilwoman Cost. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, we can move on to item number 9, which is approve the sole source resolution to execute a multi-year premier power service contract between the City of Cocoa and Duke Energy. Mr. Walsh, is that it?
Yes, sir. Yeah, this is my last item tonight, thank goodness. But yeah, this is something that staff's been working on for quite a while. It actually came up as a part of the project. We have a major plant expansion that you may have heard about. Part of the reason why we got that large bond money last year. But part of what we do at the water plant required to have backup power, which currently the City of Cocoa owns 2 generators, and those generators have been in place for a long, long time. Their maintenance is extensive. If this council remembers, I think it was 2 years ago, we had to rent generators for about 6 months, and that cost us somewhere north of about $120,000 to $150,000 because one of the generators failed completely, and the other one had some leaks and some other things that were indicating that it could fail at any moment. And so, therefore, in order to have backup power, especially through the summer and through the hurricanes, we had to make sure that we had adequate power. And so, as a result of that, we actually explored some options with Duke as our energy provider out at the Dial plant, and they have a premier program in which they actually would lay out the capital investment, so it would save us the capital investment of buying new generators, which to the tune of about $3 million or plus dollars, and for a services fee and an agreement for a 10-year period that they would be responsible to provide that backup power and all the related maintenance and associated repairs and things that are necessary in order to keep that generator functioning, as well as providing us 24/7, 7-day-a-week monitoring, which they use through their sophisticated SCADA system that the power company has. And so we looked at a cost-benefit analysis quite closely, but it was pretty easy in terms of investing $3 million of our own money or letting Duke invest their money, and then looking at just simply the time value of a $33,000 a month fee over a 10-year period. And in that respects, at any discount rate, it's basically $1 million savings to the city. So I'm here to answer any of your further questions.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question. What is the life cycle of the generators?
10 to 20 years, I think, is fair. Maybe longer. Yeah. Yep.
Oh, yeah. So,
Yes, sir.
Okay, so those generators, when they put generators in, those will be done after 10 years.
I think they'll still have significant life, but again, depending on the conditions and how they're used, we use them, quite consistently throughout the summer. Right now, at this time of the year, they generally don't go on unless we have a major storm or something in the winter that might come on. And the other interesting thing is that the new technology of the generator allows more of a modular approach. So it's not you have to replace the entire generator. There are modular pieces that can be replaced that can be substituted that can allow a much more cost-effective way to maintain the generator as well as provide partial power instead of full power, so you don't actually lose a complete generator. So it's a significant technology change at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a $4.3 million contract over 10 years. And the $3 million for the generators. I know we want to make sure those generators are working no matter what, but, it's a big check. Because it's $3 million for the generators, and I would think in the first couple of years you wouldn't have a whole lot of maintenance involved. So,
Okay.
Motion to approve.
We got a motion from Councilwoman Warner, second from Councilman Bover. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. We got our information agenda here, advisory boards and committees. Okay, Public Works.
No report.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, hold on. Mr. Smith, is this weekend is still on at Fern Prospect for the volunteers coming out for the cleanup at the park?
That is correct.
That is correct. Okay. Can you give kind of a? I don't think maybe everyone in council may not know about it.
Yeah, we've had a number of volunteer groups reach out to Public Works to volunteer their help. This weekend we'll have a volunteer group at Vernon Prospect to help pick up some of the trash and clean up some of the vegetation around that area. So they'll be working with our grounds department probably from about 9 to noon, I believe.
Okay. I'd like to commend the Public Works Department for doing an awesome job of getting those trees out of the front. It really helps the police department now be able to see inside of that park. I remember me and Chief Cantaloupe was out there, and we couldn't even see up underneath the pavilion being, 50 feet away. So thank everyone that did that job at the Public Works. So I'll be out there this weekend as well to help. Thank you.
And hopefully we'll get some lighting up underneath the pavilion here.
Yeah, that'll be good.
Something that's protected that you couldn't break or bust. I know they got some materials that they can put up underneath there now. So, okay, Finance Director.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to report that the purchasing division is going to be changing their online bidding platform software that they use. And we're going from DemandStar to VendorLink, and there has been social media and advertising, reaching out to vendors to let vendors know that we'll be going through a process of this change. It's not an immediate change, but we are have gone under contract with VendorLink, and we'll be progressing towards changing to that platform for bidding. I also would like to inform council that I have spoken with the auditors and requested that the audit be completed by the end of April as opposed to the end of March. I'm having some challenges with staffing and having certain reconciliations and journal entries that need to be done in order to be prepared for the auditors to come and perform the audit and actually prepare the financial statements. So there are bonding requirements that we report financial information by March 29th, and we've contacted those agencies and have been assured that as long as we report unaudited financial statements and then follow it up with audited financial statements, we're still in compliance. And lastly, the Finance Department got to participate in the Citizens Academy, thanks to Samantha for dressing up our presentation. Because it's kind of a dry subject, but it seemed like the citizens did enjoy it, and Finance Department had a fun time participating with that.
Thank you, ma'am.
It was great.
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Goins.
Is there a cost for the contractors for VendorLink?
No, sir. It's free
It's
service
not.
for VendorLink.
Oh, awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief Cantaloupe.
No report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Chief Land.
The fire department too had the opportunity to participate in the Citizens Academy, and we really enjoyed it. Thank you to Samantha for helping put that together, and we had a great time educating our citizens and getting them out there and getting some hands-on on the equipment that they've purchased. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone was very impressed.
Since we were talking about staffing, I just wanted to mention our building division. We got some staffing on that. Marco Delano, we was hired on a provisional building inspector license, and he passed his test, and he is now a licensed building inspector. Also, our assistant to the building official, Will Carbonelli, he passed his plans examiner test as well. So now he's a licensed plans examiner.
Amen.
Yes, and those tests are extremely hard, and it's very important for the city to have those personnel with those licenses. Also, I want to mention Habitat for Humanity, March 5th at 10 a.m., 405 Blake Adams. Shamika Adams will be getting her new home. And so if anybody could attend, we certainly would love to have you there. The mayor will be speaking. That's all I got.
Thank you, ma'am.
No report tonight, sir.
Thank you, sir.
No report.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. City Attorney. Thank you, sir. Assistant City Manager.
No report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Mr. City Manager.
No report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Deputy Mayor Goins.
There's a few things. First, I'd like to thank Samantha and everyone in the building, in City Hall, for everything they did for the students from, the scholars from Immature Charter Academy that came here Monday for a tour. They had an awesome time and great experience for kids who, I know when I was in 7th grade, I never came in City Hall. I probably didn't want to come in City Hall, but they relished the opportunity to come. They came in here and did a mock City Hall, council meeting, and it was a great opportunity to talk to kids, because sometimes as adults we don't ask the questions to the children. We have all the answers. We don't ask their important things to children, and we ask several things to them. Like as in, what does cocoa mean to you? And some of the answers was disheartening, but it was reality and it was facts, because they see another side of cocoa in their environment. So it was a good experience, but also it challenged, I think, some people on council for us to do better, and to fight a little bit harder to get the things done we want done within the city. So again, Samantha, thank you. You did a good job. You had the bags, and all the kids were wearing the green glasses all day. So I'd like to thank you for that. Appreciate you. Oh yeah. Ryan's Pizza did I think I ate two. I think I like 3 pieces. I think, but they donated pizzas to the children at the last minute, and that was my fault for doing that. But they stepped up real big for that, so we appreciate them as well. Brian Smith already talked about the February 29th, this Saturday at Vernon Prospect. The April 30th is a League of Cities promoted event, a read-in for ages 3 to 8. I think that's around kindergarten to 3rd grade, 4th grade. So I'm encouraging council to maybe select a school for that day to do a read-in. I think it'll be good for them to see people on the council to take part in their school. So if you would like to, I think Samantha sent a email out to everyone on council. So that's April 30th. And so I would love for everyone to take part. And I did it last year at Golfview. I'll probably do it again at Golfview, but I wanted to select maybe 2 or 3 elementary schools. So thank you. I appreciate that. The last thing was I'm trying to get consensus from council dealing with Ban the Box, which is to help people with criminal records to make it more easy access to the labor market. We know that we have a lot of convicted felons within the city of Cocoa, and most of them are in a lot of our trouble areas. And it's very tough for someone to stop selling drugs or to get off the streets if they don't have access to a job. And sometimes some employers, when you check that box or say, yes, you have been arrested or been convicted, some employers, they throw the application in the trash. But we want to give those particular people an opportunity because we all change. I was arrested in 1998 3 times. And that was over, 22 years ago. I'm kind of telling my age now. But everything happens for a reason. We all go through our challenges, and I want to be able to at least give them an opportunity through the interview process to see who that person is instead of just assuming who they are based on them checking yes on the application. So this is the opportunity. Maybe I don't know what direction we're going to go with it. I think Anthony is going to come back more than likely with more information with it to see what we can do within the city. But I have a little short video kind of explaining what it is, what it means, and what I'm really trying to do here.
In answer to the pressing question, how might we strengthen this American experiment in democracy? I answer with a story and offer a proposal. In 2004, a law enforcement officer in Montgomery, Alabama, discovered in the bottom of a file cabinet 2 black and white images, 2 sepia-toned photographs of the past, 2 morally ugly mugshots, depicting a distinguished young man and a somewhat older woman. The world did not come to know this young man and somewhat older woman by the arrest numbers 7053 and 7089. They came to know them, school children know them the world over by the names the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mrs. Rosa Louise Parks. Were Martin Luther King and Rosa Parks arrested today, had criminal records created today, those records would not merely be testaments to their commitment to improving America through civil rights activism, but rather those criminal records would stand as obstacles to opportunity, obstacles to jobs, obstacles to moving ahead. They would stand alongside 65 million Americans who have criminal records, most of whom have never spent a day in jail, never spent a day behind bars, never spent a day in prison, and never have committed a violent act. We stand for this legislation called Ban the Box nationally, and in the state of New Jersey, the New Jersey Opportunity to Compete Act. We stand for this legislation because it rests upon the simple moral proposition that if a man has paid his debt to society with the hard currency of responsibility, he deserves a second chance, particularly if he never had much of a first chance. That is to say, if people are afforded the opportunity, the chance, if you will, to compete to be employees, they're more likely to be better citizens. That is to say, if you are afforded the opportunity to be able to compete for a job, such that you're able to pay taxes, contribute to your community, support your family, stand shoulder to shoulder with your neighbors as equals in society as opposed to being dependent upon society. That not only strengthens this country economically, but it also strengthens us as a democracy.
Mr. Mayor and Council, actually this past Friday, I went to an FCCMA event. Actually, this topic briefly came up, and there are a number of communities and cities that are actually removing or banning the box from their application. So if you were to provide, a policy direction, we would work with HR to implement that process. And obviously there are some, like when it comes to law enforcement, but that there might be, but we would work to implement the process if that's the desire of City Council.
And I just want, and also I want to make it clear too. So I do understand about consequences. There are consequences to everything that we do. So after they have that interview process and they're being offered that job, there will be a background check. If that background come back where you have, a violent nature, whatever the case may be, you may not you definitely probably won't be a police officer, or if you've stolen checks, you definitely not going to be in the finance department. But it just opened the door to opportunities that may not be there. So I know there's pros and cons to it. Some people like it, some people don't. But I think it's our job to give our citizens as much opportunity as we possibly can to succeed. So,
does our box current, does it say convicted, or does it just say arrested, or what does it say?
It's been arrested.
The question is, have you been arrested? And that answer or that question isn't shared with the department. It's a HR field that is considered private until, like the hiring manager doesn't see it right now. We need that in HR to evaluate the applicant when we do the background check. A lot of times people answer that question no, and the answer should have been yes, and so we see that as not being honest on the application. But
there's a lot of people that get arrested that haven't committed a crime, or
Right.
never get prosecuted for a crime. So you're eliminating a lot of people by
we don't eliminate
asking
based on the arrest. Yeah, that's not an elimination question. The response doesn't mean you're being eliminated. It's about answering the question honestly, to make sure that when we do the background check that
that they're not lying about it. Okay.
Yeah. There has been some cities, this is a hot HR topic, there's been pending legislation. I think 2 years ago there was a pending House bill on it, but so it's a hot topic in HR, and so some companies hire, or the third party applicant, or the applicant fills out the criminal check through a third party agency after the fact, where the information doesn't come in to the HR department, but until the results are.
But like Councilman Goins said, if we were going to offer somebody a job, then there would be a background check, and we would catch that prior to.
We do that now, and we look at things like relevancy, like how long ago was it? 22 years ago, where you're 18 and now you're 45, or and also it shows a driving record. There's a lot of liability for the city because we put a lot of our employees behind a wheel, and if they have a poor driving record, that might be grounds, maybe they might not be a good candidate, because that can put the city at risk if they get behind a wheel and they cause a lawsuit or
yeah, I'm more interested in knowing if they've got road rage than if they've ever been arrested.
And I know
All right, thank you.
And I know the city of Tallahassee have been doing this for a number of years now, but we've had a similar incident happen here in the city of Cocoa where a young man applied for a job, and he was never arrested, and but he did get a ticket where he had to appear in court. And when he got to court, it was found guilty, but the adjudication was withheld. And when that came up in his doing his background check, the city didn't hire him; they hired the next person. But adjudication withheld mean that he didn't have to put that down there, and he was never arrested. Never spent a day in jail. Was never taken to the police department. He was given a summons to appear in court. And I know I've talked to Matt about it. Him and I had discussed that, and that was pretty disappointing for this young man because he was told he had the job and he was ready to start work I think it was that Tuesday, and that Monday is when he was notified.
Well, any time that we rescind an offer based on that, the candidate's giving a letter and they can dispute. And if that's the reason, there's an opportunity for that person to bring information like that. I don't know what happened in that case, but it's not just a where there's no communication with it's and that's kind of a hard call for somebody to make, when they've made an offer and now they're calling to rescind it. And but we have had some background checks come back, I'll tell you, where I've seen one with a drive-by shooting. I've seen things like that. We have to make a decision, the best interest for our city, and to not hire that candidate.
Yeah, but this kid had no other record, nothing. That was it. And like I said, adjudication withheld, and it was a ticket where he had to appear in court.
That would have been. He should have got a letter with a process to.
He got a text message, and that was it.
a
That
text.
was my understanding. He got well, I was told there was a text
Okay.
message and that was it.
Well, you can look into it afterwards if you let me
So,
know the
yeah, it's something that
situation.
needs
Okay.
to, yeah.
Alrighty. Thanks.
Okay.
So,
So, and I know, and you're talking about within the city, but also I would look to go further, as far as within the city limits itself with businesses as well. I know that's a very tough thing to do, but I feel that if we are the example as the city, I believe the other businesses may follow our lead. But we, it's going to be tough for us to tell, other businesses, what we want like for them to do if we're not doing it ourselves. So I don't know if that's possible. Maybe that could be a question when they come and get their occupational licenses or whatever the case may be for the next year. We have that question for them. That's a part of our requirements that they follow that. So maybe we look into that as well. I don't know if any other cities have done that, but I would like to look into that as well. I just want to be able to give, like, I'm in the streets and I talk to these guys who on the corner, and when I tell them, like, it sounds good to say get off the streets and stop selling drugs. That sounds great. But they say, okay, and do what? I've filled out 5 applications and I keep getting turned down because I was arrested 7 years ago because I got in a fight in the club. So it's just, I want to just try to do everything in my power to do so. So thank you. Appreciate it.
thank you, sir. Councilwoman Warner.
Just a couple things real quick. I want to say thank you to Ms. Dolores McLaughlin and Sandra Mitchell for a really excellent Black History Month program last night at the Moore Center. Anybody gets an opportunity, go by and take a look at the photographs that they did of the children dressed as historical figures. And then the kids got up and gave a little bit of history of the people that they were depicting. And there were 2 very, very good moments for me. One was when a young man walked up and he was wearing a little name badge that said he was portraying Willie Mitchell and Nathaniel Hooks, and Nate Hooks was in the room. And so I said to him, do you know who Nathaniel Hooks is? And he gave me his little spiel about being a police officer. And I said, but that's him sitting right there. And he was like, what? And I said, that's Nathaniel Hooks sitting right there. And you're wearing his name. Maybe you should go over and introduce yourself and tell him that your name is also Nathaniel Hooks. So he went over and shook his hand and talked to him. And then there was a tiny little gentleman who picture was up on the wall, and he was portraying Spike Lee. And in the picture, you could just see Spike Lee. I mean, he looked like a little mini version of Spike Lee. And when I talked to him, he shook his head and nodded his head. He never opened his mouth and said a word. And I talked about how great he looked and how just the spirit of Spike Lee came through in his picture. And when he got up to speak, it explained who he was. There was so much confidence. There was like, I am Spike Lee. He owned it. He was maybe 3.5 foot tall, but he really owned it. So it was just really great to see the kids really get into those roles that they were playing. And it was also funny to watch Sammy Martin sit there and watch a young lady stand up and say, my name is Sammy Martin too. So it was a lot of fun. So thanks to Dolores and Sandra. A lot of work went into that, especially on Sandra's part. She did all the photographs, and it was really great. But I know they'll keep the photographs up if anybody wants to go by and see them. And I also just wanted to say that a longtime resident of our city passed away night before last. Retired Deputy Sheriff Bo West, who lived on Broadmoor Drive. And if you've ever driven through Broadmoor Acres, then you notice all of the mailboxes look alike. They all have these white metal posts that have nice wood carving, and they all look kind of different but similar with black mailboxes on them. Mr. Bo West, at one time or another, has made a mailbox for almost every house in that neighborhood. So all of those, and as a matter of fact, last week, he completed one for the new house that was being built next door to him. So he was excited, wanted to get that mailbox done. But there will be a service for him on Saturday. I don't have a time, at the Masonic Temple on Carmelt Street. But as soon as I have a time, I'll get it out to the city clerk so she can share it. Just when he was with the sheriff's office, Bo worked the west side, which meant the Cocoa side. So we have a lot of, as a matter of fact, Lieutenant Hooks and I were talking about him last night, and they worked very closely together. He was telling me in April of 1979, Martin Luther King Sr. came to Cocoa, and Lieutenant Hooks and Bo West were leading the protection unit for him in the Cocoa area. So, yeah, great guy. He's going to be greatly missed in the Broadmoor Acres neighborhood. And I had spoken to Anthony a couple of weeks ago. We've had some people come in to council and speaking under delegations who don't actually live in the city. And several years ago, we had an issue, and our delegations would get very crowded. And since there are only 30 minutes, we were having, people not having an opportunity to speak unless we expanded delegations, because people who didn't live in Cocoa were speaking. And so we had actually developed a policy that if you were going to get up and speak under delegations, unless you were speaking about taxes you paid to the city or a water bill that you paid to the city, then you didn't speak under delegations. It's for our citizens to come and talk to us. We actually ended up in court, and for those of you who don't know, Anthony could give you more details. We won a court case. What was it, Anthony, 2011? Well, I know we filed it before that, but when was the final?
2006, maybe?
Yeah, Anthony fought in court. It was Roe versus the city of Cocoa, and it was determined by courts that we didn't have to listen to people under delegations that did not live in the city of Cocoa, were not residents or taxpayers to the city of Cocoa. And evidently, according to what Anthony said to me, there were some changes in state law, so we made some changes in our policy. I would like to take a look at that, because I think the policy we are following right now is not exactly what the state intended for that policy to be. We should have to listen to people who don't necessarily live in Cocoa when it comes to some of our agenda items, especially like the zoning and the stuff like that. But I think our delegations need to be reserved for our citizens. So if it's okay with council, I'd like for Anthony to maybe at the next council meeting give us a brief history of how we were, what we went through, and what it is we're doing today, and how we might possibly change it and still comply with the state law. So I don't want him to do it tonight. We've been here a long time, but maybe at the next meeting. I just think it's a disservice to our citizens to have to sit here and listen to people who don't live in the city of Cocoa talk about stuff that the citizens of Cocoa aren't really concerned about. So if nobody objects, I'd like to ask Anthony to do that at the next meeting.
I don't think I'm just trying to think of who you might be talking about, because the only person I know, and he's with the National Action Group, and we authorize groups like that to come in and talk, or even the NAACP members that come in and talk, as well as other organizations, people that represent other organizations. Other than that, we actually had someone from Merritt Island that wanted to come and talk on the delegations, and I wasn't going to allow that because they were going to be talking about parking.
Well, the case that we won, Roe versus the city of Cocoa, was in fact Mr. Roe coming and speaking as a representative of the NAACP. So like I said, maybe Anthony could give everybody the background on that, so we would all have the information and be working on this off of the same page.
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Councilwoman Cox.
Okay. At the next meeting, Ben Bodemarkel, who's the executive director of the Florida Historical Society, is going to be presenting to council in regard to the Science and Natural History Museum on Michigan Avenue. I'm really always surprised that, well, maybe I shouldn't be at all, Very few people seem to even know about the museum, and that may be one of the reasons they're having a hard time sustaining themselves right now. As you know, they're not the only one in that area that's having money issues. The YMCA as well, and I know they're going to be talking to us too as the budget season approaches. But I wanted to point out that this particular area, you've got the museum, you've got the planetarium that now has a tarp on it, the only planetarium on the Space Coast that our youth had at one time access to, that has been under a tarp for the last couple of years since, I'm not sure, Matthew, I think it was, but pardon me?
Sit in the museum.
Yeah, and so that whole area, I look at it and I see a lot of opportunity. It's an academic district. We've got the Cocoa High School there. It backs up to the conservation area with all its trails. It's got Eastern Florida State College, who is renewing their academic offerings, and you've got the Brevard Adult Education Center over there, and all of it exists within this opportunity zone. So, I mean, it really is an example of where the whole is worth so much more than the sum of its parts. And I think that collaboration is going to be the key to elevating that area and really helping it to realize its potential as an academic district. So I wanted the opportunity, since he's going to be speaking to us, to invite other members of council or to have some sort of workshop where we could actually look at that museum, but also just tour that area and look at all the assets that are involved there and just start to think and dream about how we could elevate it to be a real driver in our city. So is that possible to, John, am I able to take Alex on a tour of my district, or do we just need to have something open to the public and do a tour of the district?
I think City Attorney can advise, but essentially, if you're going to have more than one member of council, it needs to be posted, and I think the general opinion has been that you should have a schedule so members of the public can, if you're going to be at certain areas, they have the opportunity to be there to participate.
I would like to organize that, and perhaps it can be, a half day, or make appointments to talk with the provost of Eastern Florida to get an idea of what's new, what's going on at Cocoa High, and just look at the neighborhoods as well, because they're very strong neighborhoods. That whole corridor, Michigan Avenue, we're going to be putting some pipes in there. We're going to be spending a lot of money. I'm hoping that it can be, another gateway to our academic district, if you will. And that may be a stretch at the moment, but I think it has the potential to be that. It's in an opportunity zone. Unfortunately, we've got that big area that is unincorporated, but I can't help but, if we don't start dreaming in that direction, it's never going to happen. So, and I don't want it going down the tubes on my watch. So, may take some creative thinking, some grant writing, and most of all, collaboration from all the entities there, but I'd like to pursue that. And also, in terms of speaking with Ben Brodemarco, of course, they have agreed to do some consulting services for our Leon and Jewel Collins museum that we're developing. We don't currently have a staff person that's want to call it the belly button of that project, but we've had a lot of concern we've had numerous calls from citizens that want to be involved, and so he is going to start doing some of the interviews, starting with Jewel, And I understand there's also going to be a meeting this week, and I've spoken with Alberta Wilson and a couple people that want to go visit the museum, the Wellsfield Museum in Orlando. So I'd also like to plan a workshop to go talk with the people there. And right now I've got that on the calendar for the 16th, but may need to change that. I just found it really helpful the time that we went to the Hannibal Square Center and spoke with the curators and how they developed the museum. So he is also going to be getting us some criteria for developing our archives there, so we know what to collect and how to label it and that sort of thing. And then the last item is that I'm going to be attending Metropolitan Planning Organization Advisory Council Institute on the Art of Science and Transportation Planning. I was able to get included in that training on March 20th. So that'll be in Orlando. It's just an intense 3 days. So that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Councilman Bover. Okay. I'm just going to touch on a few things here. I'm not going to go through the stuff that I've been involved with over the last few weeks because it's been quite a bit. So, but I'm going to touch on our Cocoa High School girls basketball team, which won the regional championship, and they're going to be in the Final Four, which they're going to be playing in Lakeland this Thursday. I think at 12:30 is the first game. Some of us won't make it because we're committed to a Black History event at Cocoa High School as well. During the same time they're going to be playing, so we wish them the best over there. I call them the cardiac kids because these last couple of games, man, they really put us through the ringers watching the game. So, and also as well, the Eastern Florida State University men's basketball team, which have won 7 consecutive conference championships over the last 7 years. They're back in the playoff this year. They won the game last night pretty convincingly. I've met and talked to the coach, Jeremy, super nice guy. He'd love for us to come out and catch some of their games. They're going to be playing away, I think, next week. But I just really wish we can get behind them and support them as well. Also, I wanted to attend the Cocoa Pal event, but I know I had said that I would be there, but then I found out that there was a conflict because I already committed to be at Eastern Florida State College for their event, and it started at 5, and then Powell started at 5:30. I tried to go by there afterward, but no one was there, so I knew I had a feeling there wouldn't be anyone there, oh, okay. And then they had a Tuskegee Airmen there at the event too as well, which was absolutely awesome to see them. And it was a good event. See, Emma Jewell performed, the Charter Academy they performed, Golfview Elementary School performed, and as well as the college chorus they performed as well. But it was a great event, and I really enjoyed that. And then also, Brian, if we can. Virginia Park, there's been some issues, I guess, with some grass that need to be cut, and I guess, I don't know, you probably heard a little bit about it, and I was hoping that if we get some time tomorrow or whenever that we can go out there and take a look. It's in the backside of a Virginia Park off of Aurora. Okay. Yeah. And the housing division back there.
Yeah, I think it's more of a code issue than it is a public works issue.
I remember hearing about this.
Because we've worked with the property owners before, and they can't fully comply because of the wetlands. They can't get that what we require, but there are some areas that they can, and so I think Dennis is aware of the property, and maybe we need to reach out to the property owners and have them follow up and ask them to voluntarily comply.
Okay. Yeah, I just got a number of phone calls about it, and I just, figured I'd throw that out there. And also, we had one of our employees, former employees, pass, Joan Clark. she was with the city, I think, like 30 plus years, and a lot of folks didn't realize she had passed. And I hope that we can create a policy from now on. Whenever someone have served our community, that we can actually recognize them on our city's website, if not for a day, a couple of days. And that should be something that, regardless of where you work, if you served our community, you was an employee here, I think that people need to know. And I think that's something that we should do on a regular basis, and it should be the same level all the way across the board for everyone. But anyway, I attended the funeral and was very disappointed that wasn't more city support there. But Joan got to know for a lot of years, and a good friend. And I just hope we do better about recognizing our former employees and current employees when something like this happens. So, with that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Yes, sir.
Apologize. One, would you like to bring it back an agenda item regarding ban the box for official council action?
Yes, sir. I don't have a problem with that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And then secondly, we'll follow up on, we'll look at the internal policy regarding, because right now the policy doesn't cover employees. We did send flowers, but it's something that we have to look at and establish some parameters. So.
Okay. Thank you, sir. We get a motion adjourned from Councilman Bovair. Second from Deputy Mayor Goins. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Passage unanimously. Thank you all.